Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Player One Painter. Looks like we stumbled on to another February, which, fun fact, is one of my favorite months, second to October, my birthday. Now I know what you're thinking, Kurt, why the heck do you like February? It's cold, dark, miserable, and has one of the worst holidays made up by commercialism. To which I say, hold the front door. What other holiday can you go snowboarding and build snow forts, shout at dragons?
There's one they fear. In their tongue, he is Dovahkiin, Dragonborn.
And for those who know me, you know that I'm just hot all the time. I sweat playing foosball. I turn the air conditioner on in the wintertime. In fact, if you don't see your breath, the heat doesn't turn off. So in honor of this beautiful cold season, I thought we would do a Skyrim-inspired painting. Well, enough chat, let's go! Alright, let's get started! Ah! Now one thing to be careful about before you start your Skyrim painting is to make sure you add some Skyrim elements, otherwise it just looks like a bald eagle mountain landscape, which is not bad all the time. With that in mind, I'm just going to try to have two major elements in this painting. Whiterun, get in there, and good old High Hrothgar in the background. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'll be adding the colors one color at a time for whenever we need them. To start shit off slow, we'll just start off with the white and blue and focus on the sky. So our white, let's just pop it in there. Now, with Skyrim, with all the fading elements, you're going to use a lot of white to make, the elements fade in the background. And we'll use an ultramarine blue. This is a good color to mix with the white because it's not super powerful. So we'll add some to our palette. I was going to start with a fan brush this time, so I'm going to see if I can shape the outline of High Hrothgar Mountain and just focus on the sky. And you know how we do our sky. More white than blue. That way it doesn't make the whole sky floating above. What? And you know how we do our sky. More white than blue for starters, and as we go up, we add more blue to the top of the painting. Now remember, we're trying to shape out High Hrothgar, so you can just kind of have an idea. Maybe you can even sketch with your brush, It's a pretty tall mountain. So to kind of do that, you know that that's going to be your mountain, so you just fill in the sky. Simple as that. Whoopsie. Gotta pop off that brush bristle. Get out of there, we don't want it. So after you fill in the area that you want to be your sky, I'm going to take a big dosage of more white and kind of exaggerate the white across the bottom area here. So you grab your brush, get a lot on there, and just do kind of this action. Flip it up, flip it up, flip it up. There you go. Good place for a dragon to live. Gonna make a smoky atmosphere when you do that. Another thing to do to make the surface smooth so you don't see that many brush strokes, it's really your preference. You want a lot of brush strokes, you just get in there and start stabbing at canvas, but if you don't, you can take, after you do a big section, take a big flat brush, glide yourself over the sky. Something like that. And whenever this actually does dry, since we use oil paint, it does take some time to dry. When it does dry though, you can go ahead and go back into it and play around, exaggerate the clouds and whatnot. So that's a sky. Good stars. It's very subtle, not too crazy. Now let's focus on the High Hrothgar Mountain. Oh boy. Alright, and since this mountain is pretty far in the background, we're going to use that same color that we used for the sky and just add some black to it. And again, subtle black, more of this color so it looks like it's far in the distance. I can open it up. I can't open it up. I'm going to put down this palette. Get it! Don't go anywhere. I promise. It'll be amazing. Stop looking at me. Alright, simple as that. Your black is on there. There you go. So again, little piece of the black into the mixture that you made before. It's more blue here. Something like this, you know. And then you go up here. You don't need to worry about detail right now because obviously this is just the underpainting. So we can go back and we can add more sky to shape the mountain here and there. So we just need a mountain to stand so we can play around with it. Block her in. I wouldn't mind shouting on the top of that mountain. I was always a Stormcloak. Well, bad. It's the Nord's land. Why Imperials? Why you gotta be so mean? No reason to fight. Can't we all get along? Now, obviously in Skyrim, there's mountains about everywhere. So, you got your big one in there. You know, you want to put some other ones down here. Just make them smaller. Now, if you painted with me before, you know that if you have a defined light source in your painting, it's easier to see how the world works, you know. You got light on some stuff, you got shadows on other things, so I'm going to go ahead and say the sun's coming from this direction, so everything on this side can have kind of like a shadowy area, and we'll go lighter with the colors on this side. But again, we're just laying down an undertone, we'll go over this and have some fun. We have a pretty good start here, and all of the fan brush, pretty awesome, right? So you can see how those paintings look very intimidating and you know how graphics are in Skyrim. But if you break it down to its basic elements, it's just a fan brush, really. Not really. There's a lot of things you can do with this guy. You know, mountains, waves if you do water. So don't underestimate the power of the fan, and also don't drop it on your floor or the missus will kill you. Don't want that. Well, alright, that's good enough for the undertone base. Let's go ahead and have some fun now. We're gonna add some mist elements to our mountain. So literally just load up in that white. Think like clouds. I don't know how that is, but if you think like a cloud, it's easier. You can have like a circling motion when you put it on there, so you dab it. And you'll know for clouds, if you leave a top part of it with an extra highlight, it looks more full. So this could be your shadow area, and since our light's coming this way, just kind of swirl it around here, get some mist action going on there. Very nice. So I'll go back in the high Hierophon once it's dry, so I can just play around with some contrast and whatnot. But since we know that these mountains are going to be further away, I'm going to go ahead and just make the initial white overlay just to push them back. So definitely this one will be much more visible than these guys in the background. Like I said, we can play around with that mountain a little bit later on. Let's go onwards to Whiterun. Now for Whiterun, we're going to introduce our cadmium yellow pale hue to the bunch, so let's get it open on camera. So, hold on. Nice simple yellow open up. Alright, here we go. So we'll add our yellow to the canvas. There it is. Now you might be a little confused about the yellow, but yellow is actually going to help us separate the background from the foregrounds. Cool colors recede, warm colors come forth. So we're going to mix a little yellow into a mixture of, well, we can use the mountain mixture. A little bit more black though, because we want a nice kind of gray. And obviously add some white. And it's still kind of far, so maybe it's still a little bit of blue. So this will be kind of like the basic shape of the outline of Whiterun. So I'm going to go ahead and add it up here. You can obviously see I'm just doing a basic shape of what the town's going to be. You know, think about this as being your base layer again for the town. You know, you have a medium tone, then we're going to hit it with some highlights on this side, and eventually some shadows on this side. But again, far away, not crazy detail, so it kind of works best for us. Now I know Skyrim is full of snowflakes, but if you ever see an open piece of canvas of the white showing, We call that snowflakes. We don't want any snowflakes in this painting, except for the snowflakes that are actually snowflakes. Let's paint. Now, I always find this as being the fun part. You can kind of make up stories of what houses are where. Obviously, we know for Whiterun, there is the Dragon Search building here. But from there, you kind of have an idea of what the town would be like because you played it so many times. So you can just kind of add things. Maybe there's a building there. You know, just playing with shapes, basically. And the more you play, the more of a town that's made. So things are moving along. We're going to leave Whiterun the way it is because I want to show you more of what we can do for the terrain of Skyrim here. So, play the game, you know that this area, there's a lot of like wheat and orange-colored grass growing around this area. There's a few waterfalls and streams, so we can do a base terrain. Take your yellow, and as you know, yellow mixed with blue makes a nice green. But this area is still pretty far back there, so you want to take your white, as always. Something like that for starters. Nice green. And you can just really fill in this base here. Actually, I think I want more white in this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of fill the rest of this open space with a yellow mixed with white and blue. So a color like that. And once we do, then we can kind of play around with all the rocks and things of areas that there are there. So this is just, again, the base of the foreground. Alright, and obviously as we work even closer to the viewer, colors get even warmer. Which is crazy because it's Skyrim, which is really cold, but that's okay. I'm going to introduce Burnt Sienna and Burnt Umber. I'm not even going to try to open them on camera. Be back in a mo. And like magic, they arrive to your palette. Just a little difference between Burnt Sienna and Burnt Umber. Burnt Sienna is more on the red side, so think of, you know, mahogany, anything that's like a red-brown. And Burnt Umber is more on the neutral, kind of dark side, so dark brown, red brown. And if you interchange these colors together, you get some awesome effects of grasses and weeds and, you know, things in Skyrim. Let's start playing. Alright, so we have a pretty good start of an underpainting. Remember, this isn't the full painting. This is just the initial layer down. Now we can go on top of each layer and add some more detail. So the background would be the mountain area, the middle ground would be where right where Whiterun is, and then the foreground we're gonna add a lot of sticks, trees, and you know, grass blades here and there. So yeah, with that being said, let's go back to High Hrothgar and put some detail work on there. When doing detail work, it's good to have a smaller brush so you can really get in there and, you know, really choose where your lights and darks are going to be. So I'm going to start by putting some shadows alongside the mountain here. I'm going to take a good doses of black. Remember, this is still far away no matter what, so black and white might be good for a nice gray. And then add a little blue to it. But basically I want it to be darker than what you see here. And just touch it here and there. Obviously leave some of that color in there so you can show through, so don't cover it all up. Okay, now for the highlight side, definitely get some white, but just to make it different from the mist, add a little bit of yellow to it. That way, you know, if the sun's shining yellow, it'll kind of reflect off the mountain just here and there. Now once you're satisfied with your mountain contrast, let's move on to the town here. Now this is another fun part because we already shaped out the town itself, right? Now just think how the light's going to hit everything. So we'll make a shadow color. You know, I'm still going to use kind of like a gray, white, black, and blue. We'll try this for starters, see how it goes here. Yeah, that's good because it's still far away, but that looks like a good shadow color. And I'm just going to touch up every single portion of the one side of the building. Now that we have the shadow, try to mix this highlight the same way. I think we used yellow, white. See that there? Yellow, white, some black, a little bit of black. So this was basically the color of the town. But now we're just going to have a lot more white to it. If it's lighter, it works. There we go. Alright. Now also we can play around with just lights being on inside buildings. Inside buildings. I guess they could be on-side and inside buildings. We'll shoot with inside buildings. A bit of white. And I would just simply do a white and yellow mixture, and that's it. On the warm side, on the light side. So, let's try to stay away from gray lights. And just think where they would be. I would say that there's going to be light in the tower there. There'll be a bunch of lights down this building. Something like that. Like there, like there. I mean, you really choose where the lights go, and wherever you choose it, that's where it should go. And really that just gives more life to the town. That way it's not just a stagnant town with no color to it. And that's something you can go back to, play around with more, mix more. But for now, that's pretty good town. Alright, so now we have a town, we have the mountains in the background. Now we're really going to play around with that Skyrim landscape. As y'all know, it's not just a flat grassy area. You got rocks, you got some waterfall action, you got some tree action. So I'm going to start by laying out where I want all my rocks to be. Now make sure your rocks, obviously this is still the mid-ground. Rocks are going to have a shadow and a light side. So the shadow, definitely black, definitely white, and blue. So we'll put a rock here, maybe right next to the town. There you go. You see how it's more gray than the blue shadowing? And I'm just gonna pop in rocks here and there, and once I set them up, we'll go back to them and we'll put the detail on them. Fantastic how that rock pushes that mountain back, so you know what plane you're on. Alright, so that's a pretty good amount of rocks just to put the initial layer down. We have the initial layer. Take whatever mixture you made the rocks with. Obviously add it with some white. Again, since the sun's coming this direction, the top of the rocks off with some white. Alright, well, hey, we're just about done here. I just want to do a few more elements to the foreground, and then we can call this one done. So, since we're up close and personal now, like I said, the warm colors, like your yellows, your siennas, burnt sienna, yellow sienna, burnt sienna, burnt umber, get those in high quantity on your liner brush, the very small brush, and just think how grass and shrubs and trees would just be in the foreground, and go ahead and use your brush that way. And I'm just going to keep on repeating all of this all over the place just so we kind of get a nice fun little terrain there. There we go. Add some browns there for contrast. Think of shadows. Think of just everything is very close in front of your face so you can see it all. Don't hold back. Alright, and you know me. Something that's to tie the whole thing together so we know like evidence of scale and whatnot. I'm going to pop a big evergreen tree right here, just so you can kind of really break down those planes of distance. So to do so, this is very close towards us. I'm going to get a good action of black and blue, believe it or not. And obviously some burnt umber, not sienna, burnt umber, to make a very dark trunk. And, you're not really going over your major mountain, but just go ahead and make a big long trunk, and it's okay. Because it's going to be better in the end. There you go. We'll obviously add some highlights and whatnot to it, but that's for starters. And this is where you're going to introduce your last color, the green. Turn off the camera again. I'll be right back. And like magic, there's the green. Go ahead and get a good chunk of that green on your paintbrush. I would also mix it actually with the black too. Because, again, it's going to be a darker green because it's the closest to us, and it really separates the planes. Where's it going to start? We'll start it, like, right there. And just think like an evergreen. We'll obviously have to probably go over this one or two times just to get all the color in there, because right now it's picking up all the white. That is okay. Alright, and we'll also throw a highlight on there just to give it some life. So you can really take that green right into that yellow. And it's pretty dark, so I'd go ahead and splash some white. There it is. And really you're just going to touch this portion, because you know our light's coming this direction. Just here and there. Get some highlights on there. You're probably going to pick up with that dark a lot, but that's alright. Dab it on there. Alright, I think with that tree there, I think we're going to call this one done. You beat level 3. So last thing you want to do, just go ahead and just give it a sign on the bottom. I generally just used my first and last initial. And put the date underneath it. But you do you. Hey, thanks again for joining me for another episode of the Player One Painter. And I know the graphics in Skyrim are a little on the crazy side, but give this painting a shot. I bet you'll have fun with it. Let me know how you think of it. And you know, really this is just what I did of a certain scene in Skyrim. The game's so big, you can choose wherever you want. And here's a little tip. Have your character take a little, like, you know, first person shot. Take a picture. There you go. You have your composition. Go ahead and paint off that. And even if it's not exact, at least it's some reference to go off of. I just really like the Riverwood area because it's the big mountains, it's the feel, there's a town, has it all. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers! There's no better combination. It being February, doing a Skyrim-inspired painting, and enjoying a nice glass of Nordic Juniper Berry Mead. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. If you want to take this painting home with you, I have it up for bidding, so it could be yours. But if you don't get the painting, I'll at least have prints available, so either or, the links are down below. Again, you just being here watching the video makes me do more videos, so stay inspired, try this one out, and enjoy a glass of mead. This is legit mead. I actually brewed this myself. It's not hard. Maybe I'll do a video of how to brew mead, but maybe that's for another time. Enjoy yourself. Cheers, legitly.